Howdy doodly neighbour, I am the bastard child of book.Tony, this is Vegan Stuff, and welcome to Personal Recommendation. This is a show where in my quest to try and get more non-fiction readers out there in the world, or to try and help people who are non-fiction readers find more books, I go and I ask one of you guys for your loves, your favourite books, your favourite films, TV, passions, interests, shows, anything on this planet that I can try and find stuff for you in the non-fiction world. I should say, currently I'm rocking a moustache for Movember. Dear God, it is horrible. I'm doing it for Movember, as I said. It's a fantastic charity which helps with men's mental health, suicide prevention, prostate cancer, and testicular cancer. I've been really fortunate in the past couple of years with my own mental health issues. I've been able to go to charities that have been supported by Movember, so I know how important it is. So hopefully you guys can donate. If you wish to, the easiest two ways you can do it is either check the pinned video in my channel, you can find a button there to donate, or if you go to veganstuff.co.uk, you can find the link there to the Movember page. But to get cracking and knacking, this week we are looking at my friend Laura Graham. Laura has become a regular in my live streams, which you can find every Monday, Thursday, Friday, 1 PM to 4 PM. And she's also a part of the Discord, and I've gotten to know her quite well. So this is what she said are her favourite books, her favourite hobbies, her interests, and everything like that. So without further ado, let's get on with this, and let's go first with the book that I said was my favourite book for last month, even though it was a fiction, and it goes against everything I stand for, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. So I'm going to try and do my best to not give any spoilers here, so if you haven't read the book yet, please go do it. It's a phenomenal book. I love it so much. It's probably going to be in the top 10 come next month. So with that, I'm not going to give away anything, hopefully, touch wood. And I'm not going to recommend one book in particular if I do want to. If you do want to know this book, it is going to give spoilers away. But let me know. Either hit me up in the comments, or I'll DM you, or just DM me directly. I'll tell you what it is. But let's go with a book that Taylor Jenkins Reid in an interview actually said was a lot of big inspiration to her, which was Ava Gardner's Secret Conversations. This book kind of mirrors the plot of the story in the terms that Ava Gardner is a big Hollywood starlet back in the golden era. She was married to Mickey Rooney, she was married to Frank Sinatra, and the story goes that she was going to write an explosive, tell her dirty laundry type of autobiography because she needed the money. She got with a ghostwriter, they had a lot of conversations, and then after having those conversations before the book was printed, she got cold feet. Rumours Sinatra paid her off to not do it, and so she released her autobiography instead. But this got released after her death and also the ghostwriters. If you read 7 Husbands, you probably already know that this sounds very similar, and it is just as juicy, but also real life. Next up, if we're talking about Hollywood romance, like Evelyn Hugo has, we have to talk about Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor. These two have probably still the wildest Hollywood relationship in history. The stories of their multiple marriages and how they nearly destroyed studios with everything is legendary. Henceforth, there's a book about it, Erotic Vagrancies, Everything About Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor by Roger Lewis. This is a really good book, going into great detail about it. If you're a fan of old Hollywood, if you're a fan of romance, I always suggest this actually as a romance book for anyone wanting to read non-fiction. So if you are interested in more romance in Hollywood, give this a shot. With true crime, this is a topic that I know is going to come up a lot, but it's something that I personally don't read. I might make a video about this later in the day to talk about my thoughts about it, but just to say, I don't judge anyone that reads it. I'm not a dick. I want to go with a left turn for a recommendation here and go with Unnatural Causes by Dr. Richard Shepard. Now, this is a really fascinating book. As he says, Dr. Shepard is the leading forensic pathologist. He's basically the guy that does all the major murder victims in the UK, the unknown deaths and stuff like that. He's the guy that does them all. So this is part memoir about how he grew up and what got him into the job, what interested him, how he ended up becoming this figure in British medical history, which is really fascinating in its own right, because there is that bit of a macabre, just like, how did you decide you wanted to work on dead bodies? And it's also some of the science behind it. So like, what actually are they looking for when they look at the body at the crime scene? When they do an autopsy, what are they doing? Like, how do they handle the body? Like, how can they tell when they think the person was murdered and give a time period? That stuff is really fascinating to me. It very much feels like Kelly Doughty's work. So if you like Smoke Gets in Your Eyes, this would be a really good pickup for you too. With human biology, I'm going to recommend a author first that was one of my favorite things I found this year, who is Mary Roach. Mary is an American author who writes about the body in weird ways. So like this book, Gulp, is about digestion and everything like that. She had Stiff, which is about the body and the afterlife. Grunt, which is a book that I really loved, which was about like the science behind war. Not as in guns and motors and stuff, but like how do we keep people safe? What do we do to like make sure that they're not going to sweat to death or anything like that in hot climates, all this stuff. She's a really interesting writer in the fact that she will go to different paths than just your normal, like, here's your body, here's how it works. She like speaks to weird people, she gets like, different ideas, she explains it in a really fun and unique way, which I found that was just utterly fascinating and drew me in. I don't want to say the word quirky because I think that has a negative connotation, but the book does feel a different feel to it than any other science book I've ever read, and it just works out perfectly and gives you a lot of cool information that you would have never heard about. And I can't go without talking about my Lord and Saviour, Bill Bryson. Bill has a book called The Body, A Guide for Occupants, which is a great overlook of all of human biology, giving a brief but quite detailed look at different parts of the body, how things work, like how things have evolved over time, stuff like this. I could sing Bill's praises for eternity. I think he's my favorite writer of all time. I love all his work, but this one is especially great because I think his wit and his humor works so well in a scientific setting. Because much like Roach's works, it's much less of being told information and much more like someone having a joke with you and saying, it's basically like QI almost, in a way of just like, oh yeah, here's a couple of jokes about something that's actually really interesting. And you get to learn about it, you get to have a laugh. It's a quick read, even though it's quite a big book. And yeah, all hail Bill Bryson. And lastly, looking at chronic illness. Thank you for putting this as a category because it's something that I've been ignoring, even though I've been having to deal with it. So the stuff I've discovered here is stuff I really want to read. I am going to read just to kind of get an understanding of what the hell's happened to my own body. So to give these quickly, the ones I'm going to recommend are Invisible Kingdom, Reimagining Chronic Illness by Megan O'Rourke, Through the Shadowlands, A Science Writer's Odyssey into an Illness Science Doesn't Understand by Julie Reinheimer, Sea Bean by Sally Hunter, and Miranda Hart's I Haven't Been Entirely Honest with You. These all sound really interesting, and as I said, I've put these all on my TBR. I'm hopefully going to get to one or two of them next month. But yeah, these are the ones I recommend. Thank you so much if you watched this far through. If you want to take part in this, if you want some recommendations, please let me know. All I really need is your favorite books, your hobbies, your interests, your loves, your passions, stuff like that, just so I have something to work on. And also, please donate to Movember if you can. That'd be amazing if you could. Once again, veganstuff.co.uk or check it on the pinned video. And yeah, until next time, have a good day, neighbour.